her and working with her. So for those, I probably should have done this at the beginning, but I'm so familiar with your model. What is the basic model of Rapify? I think it's somewhat straightforward, but talk a little bit about how the basics works, how a campaign might work, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. So the way Rapify works is if you're a rideshare driver and you're interested in advertising on your vehicle, you have to download the Rapify app. So we're available on Android and iOS. We use your background location data to match you with campaigns. So once you drive, I think an average of 50 miles, and we keep that rolling average going.
Yeah.
We use that as like a snapshot of where you're typically driving, and then that's what we use to match you to campaigns.
Gotcha.
So if and when a campaign is available in your area, you'll get pushed a notification to your mobile device that there's a campaign available. If it's a brand that you want on your vehicle, if it meets up with your satisfaction levels of what you want on your vehicle, you will opt into it. You go through a background check, no different than like an Uber or Lyft style background check through our app. And then we schedule a wrap install. And then once you get your vehicle wrapped, you start earning money on a per mile basis. And our average drivers earn anywhere from $200 to $400 a month. And in some cases, and this is something that I think we haven't done a good enough job of talking about, but we have other ways of earning on the platform. And I think the most important to drivers is Swarm. Swarm is a feature that allows drivers to earn even more than their nominal driving data by driving around specific locations at specific times. So it's all opt-in. You don't have to do any Swarm. But if we've seen drivers make north of $1,000 in a month because of the volume of Swarm that they've done.
Got it. So this would be literally, I take a break from doing Uber and Lyft rides and just technically drive for Rapify in the areas and the times, or can I try to do rides, but I got to stick in a certain area?
We've seen drivers. Again, like gamification and making it so drivers can earn the most by being in the right place at the right time is a big focus. But we don't see drivers necessarily turn off Uber and Lyft. In fact, if anything, they're going to those areas and doing rides.
Got it.
So for example, if it's a Swarm that's focused on an event, usually the airport and the event center are within the Swarm region, and so you're able to,
that's cool.
you're able to continue to maximize.
Yeah, so I guess obviously depending on how big the swarm area is, you can, increase your chances of, double dipping basically, right? Like you said, which, gig drivers love maximizing their income. And I think also Uber is releasing a lot of cool features now where you can actually set your area preference. So this might be something to keep an eye on because, if it lines up with a swarm, for example, Uber's only sending you rides in certain areas, so you won't even have to leave. And then the other feature that they could use is a destination filter. You might set it at the edge of the swarm and, just sort of keep going back and forth basically in that. So the swarm is cool. And, you kind of preempted me by talking about how much the drivers earn. So I appreciate that because that's always important to the drivers, right? What sets the earnings? Is it sort of, how much you're driving per mile? Do some campaigns, it's just like, hey, this advertiser has a lot more money, they're willing to pay more, or, what kind of goes into the pay there?
I mean, there are several different components of driver pay, but the main component is per mile basis.
Gotcha.
And there's an algorithm that prices the mile dynamically based on time of day, traffic flow, other environmental factors. So, I mean, long and short, if it's an area where it's, it's daylight, there's lots of people, you're not moving super fast, high value mile. If you're out in the middle of nowhere at 3 in the morning and it's dark, low value mile. So, I mean, those are like two extremes. But yeah, I mean, when you look at the averages, drivers are typically, and it depends on also the wrap type.
Right.
So, the more of your vehicle is covered, the more you get paid per mile, the less you get paid per mile. But you're typically looking at, regardless of wrap type, you're typically looking at anywhere from a few $100s a month. And then if you participate in Swarm, and if there are, and we also provide opportunities for driver bonuses and things like that. So there's a lot of different ways to maximize your earnings with Rapify.
Yeah. How long do the campaigns typically last?
Great question. So our average campaigns are typically in the 4 to 12 week range.
Okay.
One of the cool things about Rapify from a brand perspective is brands have the ability to extend campaigns. So when a campaign extension becomes available, that means you have the opportunity to see that biweekly direct deposit continue. So yeah, I mean, but typically 4 to 12 weeks is an average campaign duration on our platform.
Very cool. And I mean, I know, one thing we always talk about in the gig economy is that there is a lot of variation. So, I appreciate you sharing some of those income numbers. And I'm sure that it does vary, some drivers making more, some less. I'm going to take a guess that, are bigger cities, do they tend to have more campaigns, better earning opportunities, sort of similar with Uber and Lyft, or how does it vary geographically?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the more challenging components of just what we have to
Hmm.
message to drivers, because yeah, there are markets where we won't see very much campaign activity, and it's
Yeah.
not because Rapify doesn't want drivers on campaigns. Like if it
Yeah.
was up to us, we'd have campaigns on the road in every market all the time. But the reality is we are beholden to the advertisers and the agencies that support those brands, and they launch campaigns in the markets where they want to. So
Yeah.
long and short, bigger major metropolitan areas typically have more campaign activity because that's where more brand budget is spent. That being
Yeah.
said, one of the big use cases for Rapify is the fact that we can be in places where there is no or very limited traditional out-of-home inventory.
Yeah.
So we actually do see Rapify campaigns in places that are not necessarily those tier one DMAs all the
Hmm.
time.
Yeah.
So that's another just kind of cool use case.
So, what type of drivers participate in these campaigns? I mean, obviously, I always tell people rideshare drivers, believe it or not, they drive a lot. They put 1,000 miles a week on their car if they're full time. Do you have a lot of rideshare, a lot of delivery drivers? Are there just normal, everyday commuters that are also using your service?
I mean, we serve all of the above, but I would say the most prominent use case for Rapify today is rideshare and food and grocery delivery.
Gotcha.
And as you know, a lot of those drivers are doing all three of those services, or at least at least two of them. So it's truly a bolt on to your gig work is really how we
Yeah.
like to characterize it.
Got it. And is that mainly because they're just putting so many miles on their car?
Yeah, they're already on the road. We're helping them
Hmm.
make essentially passive revenue by doing the miles and driving that they already drive.
Yeah. Are there any downsides for the driver? I mean, I guess I imagine, like you said, some drivers, they may not want to wrap their car, period. Other drivers might only want specific campaigns. So, what are the expectations that you sort of tell people that are either signing up or looking for campaigns?
I think that, yeah, it's if you don't see a campaign right when you sign up, don't get discouraged.
Hmm.
It really is dependent on campaign activity that's set by the advertisers and brands that want to run with us. So be patient. We are looking at and we are launching some new features within the driver app to help drivers make more money on the road or save money on the road. So that's another really cool thing that we're about to be launching.